Hello everyone, welcome to Automation E2E. In this part 1 video of handling dropdown, we are going to cover handling dropdown using Selenium's select class. This is the best approach when dealing with standard HTML dropdowns which are created using select tag. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to use this class to interact with options inside these dropdowns. Whether it's selecting options or retrieving them, this video has got everything you need to get started. So, let's get started. Dropdowns are such a common feature on a website. They are used for things like choosing a country in a form or picking a product category while shopping online. Learning how to interact with them is a must-have skill for your Selenium automation toolkit. There are actually several types of dropdown that we'll see on website. The select tag is just one of them, but it's also the most straightforward to handle. Let me show you how select tag looks on a website. So on this Wikipedia site, this option to select language is implemented using a select tag. Let me inspect this and let me search this one. As you can see, it's implemented using select tags and it has different options. And this option tag has attributes like value, lang, and the text. Selenium's select class, which we'll see in a while, makes it really easy for handling these types of dropdowns. However, not all dropdowns use select tag. For example, you'll often see custom style dropdowns built with div or live element, especially on more modern sites. These are designed using CSS and JavaScript to look like dropdowns. Another type you'll encounter is searchable dropdowns, where you type the filter options and it shows only the relevant choices. And finally, there are dropdowns styled with libraries like Bootstrap or Select2, which add an extra layer of customization. Let me take you to makemytrip.com, where you can see different types of dropdown. Let me inspect this and you can see here this is not implemented using select class. If I click here, as you can see, a div tag is there, and if I inspect this again, it's implemented using div tag. Also, it is a searchable dropdown. As you can see, not all values are populated right away. Let's say if I search for some country like India, then it will load all the relevant options. Similarly, it has this dropdown wherein it has a list in it, so it's implemented using a list. So Selenium requires a different approach to handle such dropdowns, which we will cover in our next video. So in this tutorial, let's focus on the classic HTML dropdown, where we can harness the power of select class. I'll explain exactly how to locate the dropdown, select options by text, value, and index, and even handle cases where multiple selections are allowed. To demonstrate single selection HTML dropdown implemented using select tag, we are going to use this Wikipedia site, and here this particular element is implemented using select tag. Let me inspect this. Let's go here, and as you saw earlier as well, this is implemented using select, and all the options that are here are implemented in an option tag. Let's write a program to select different values for this dropdown. I'm back to IntelliJ, so I'll do driver.get and we'll go to that Wikipedia page. Then we need to find that web element. So for that, we'll inspect this, and as you can see, it has an ID of search language. We'll use the ID locator to locate it. Pasted it here. All right. So let's take this in a web element. Let's name it as select language element is equal to. Alright, as we mentioned, we are going to use the select class that is provided by Selenium. So for that, I'll create an object of select class. Let's name the variable as language dropdown is equal to new select, and here we have to provide this web element. So I'm providing that here. Let me brief you real quick about select class. Select class in Selenium is specially designed to handle the select tag of HTML. It provides a lot of actions that we provide with a certain dropdowns, like get all selected options. This is used in case of multiple selections. Get first selection option, again used in case of multiple selection dropdowns. Then we have select by visibility, we have select by index. For example, the first option would be at the index 1, the second will be at the index 2. In this way, you can select by index as well. Then we have select by value. This leverages the value attribute of the options, which is this one. So if we want to select by value, we have to pass this value here. And in case of select by visible text, we have to pass this visible text that is visible on the UI. You can see this is the one. So for selecting, we have a total of 3 methods provided by select class. We also have deselect all, deselect value. So these deselect methods are applicable for multiple selections and not for single selection dropdowns. It also has a method called get options, which returns all the options tag that are under that particular select tag. So let's go back to the code, and firstly what we'll do is we'll demonstrate all the 3 select methods. For that, we'll do language dropdown dot select by. Let us first select by index and let us add it as 0. So at 0th place we have AF, and by default it's selected as en. After that, let me add a thread.sleep here so that execution is visible for you guys. After by index, let's select using value. So in this case, let's provide value as let's say Bahamas, Indonesia, which has a value of ID. We'll again wait for a certain amount of time and then we'll select by visible text. Let's select Latina. Let me add a thread.sleep at the start as well so that you can see the by default selection. And in this case, it should select AF. AF. In this case, it should select ID. And in this case, it should select LA. So let's run this program and see the execution. So the execution is started. As you can see, it's right now EN. It has changed it to AF. Now it has changed it to ID. And now it has changed it to LA. This is how you use all the select by methods provided by the select class. So now let's have a look at another useful method that select class provides, which is get options method. And if you see this method returns all the option tag that the select tag has inside it in a form of list of web element. So in our case, let's find the XPath of this, and inside the select tag, whatever the option tags are there. So as you can see, in our case, we have 73 of them. When we use get options method, in this case, it will return all these 73 option tags in the form of list of web elements to us. So let's get back to the code and let's complete the code. Let's add list of web element. Let's name it as language options and let's print out the size first. Number of option tags in language select dropdown is language of dot size. Now this method is very useful not only in checking how many options are present, also when you need to validate every single option and the text that it has. So for that we can use for each loop provided by Java, wherein we'll write web element and we'll name the variable of the web element and we'll provide the list here, and let's complete the for loop. What this for loop eventually will do is it will return in sequence one by one web element which are present in this list of web elements until the final element is reached. So eventually it helps us to traverse through the entire list till the end. So in this case, let me print out the visible text option.getText. So it will print out the visible text that is there. Alright, let us run this program and see the output. So as you can see here, it has printed the number of options tags that are there are 73 as we saw earlier as well, and visible text are in this sequence, which are the visible text on this UI. So this is a very useful method when it comes to validating the content of the options that are there in a dropdown. So there are other methods as well provided in select class. For example, deselect all, deselect by value, deselect by visible text. So all these methods are applicable for multiple selection dropdown. So let's use one of them in case of single selection and see what exception we get. So let me run this program and see what happens. So as you can see, we already got an exception that it's an unsupported operation. And you can also see you may only deselect all options of multi-select dropdown. So since in our case, this dropdown was a single select dropdown, this method was not applicable here. So to show you an example of multi-select dropdown, let me take you to this site wherein we have an example here. So I can press Ctrl and click on these elements. So effectively it has selected Argentina and Colombia. So similarly, I can keep clicking on these elements and select multiple values. At the same time, if I just click on them, I can also select single values. So this is a simple multi-select dropdown implemented using select tag. To handle such dropdowns as well, we can use the select class provided by Selenium. So let me right click here and inspect this element. So let's copy the XPath of select tag and paste it here. Let's make it as XPath and paste the XPath here. Alright, let's rename this as multi-select element and this as multi-select dropdown. Let's add this here as well. Let me add a thread.sleep here so that you can see the execution nice and slow. Let's use all the methods that are there. Let's start with select by index. In this case, at 0th index, let's print out selected. Let me again add a thread.sleep here. Let's search by visible text here. Let's search for Brazil and accordingly let's print out Brazil was selected, and then select by value. Let's select Chile in this case using value. So I've selected it by value. So we have selected a total of 3 elements using index, visible text, value, let us print out the first selection. So to get the first selection, we have get first selection option. This will print the first selected option, and after that we will start with deselecting all these values. So let's deselect it. For that we'll use deselect by index, deselect by visible text, and here deselect by value. Let's update the printed text as well. This particular code here will eventually deselect all the values that we selected earlier. So there is another method called deselect all. This will deselect all the selections. So to demonstrate this, let me make a few selections here. Select by index. Let's select the first 3 elements. Let's print it out. Let's wait for some time. Let's print it out. All elements are deselected. So basically, this whole code, how this will flow is, we'll first select by index, then by visible text, then by value, and then we'll print out the first selected option, and eventually start with deselection. Then we'll select a few elements and then deselect it all. So in this way, this code will help us understand how all the methods in select class work. One more thing I forgot to mention, this first element method returns the first web element. So to see the visible text, we'll add a get text method here. Now let's run this program and see the output. The execution has started. Let me bring it here. So as you can see, it's selected by index, then by visible text, then Chile was selected by value. The first element is Argentina. Now it's deselecting. As you can see, everything is deselected, and now it has selected all the 3, and then it has eventually deselected all the elements. So these are all the useful methods that are present in select class. The deselect ones are the specific ones meant for dropdowns which allow multiple selections. To wrap up, the select class in Java is a powerful tool in Selenium for working with standard HTML dropdowns created using select tag. It provides simple methods like select by visible text, select by value, select by index to easily choose options, and it also lets you retrieve all available options with get options. Along with this, it also helps in handling multiple selection dropdowns by allowing us to perform operations like deselecting an option, getting the first selection, and so on. It's designed specifically for these types of dropdowns, making your automation scripts more efficient and readable. It's perfect for handling dropdowns implemented using select tag. Keep in mind that modern websites often use different types of dropdowns, and handling them in Selenium requires a unique approach. We'll explore those in the upcoming part of this tutorial, so make sure to subscribe and click the bell icon to stay updated. That's it from this tutorial. If you found it helpful, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thanks a lot for watching.